Hey everyone, this video is going to be a little different. It's kind of more of an off-the-cuff style of a video, but I figured it probably isn't the worst idea to give you guys an idea how I'm actually going to be planning on saving for this entire challenge. Because to go from $1,000 to $1,000,000, that is absolutely a very ambitious challenge. I really don't think that we will get there without a solid plan and building that savings habit. And I'm not really trying to make this to become another meme channel, going out and buying zero dated options or, find the next GameStop kind of a situation. So I wanted to show you guys that maybe by having a relatively reasonable a plan, that it actually could still be done within a relatively reasonable amount of time. I'm giving myself about 5 years to get there. So for me, growing up with a relatively traditional Asian family, and shocker, I'm Asian, it's in the channel name. So it actually gave me a little bit of a heads up already in this entire journey that I already was a bit of a planner. I like knowing with a good degree of certainty exactly what I'm doing. So ever since I was a kid, I always liked keeping track of everything. I would put it on a spreadsheet or, a Word file as to, what I want to do in the next year or two, kind of just have an idea in my head and just do it. And I realized I asked my friends, I kind of wonder how many of you guys can actually come up with how much money you're earning or spending on a monthly basis and, do it in a way that it gets you maybe close to like a 10% range margin of error. And that just doesn't really happen as much here in the US. So I think that already kind of gave me a nice head start. So just by tracking everything, get a spreadsheet, just put in all those numbers and see exactly, how much is coming in and how much is going out. You should already have a pretty good idea as to how much money you would end up with every single month. And for me, that already kind of gave me an idea that maybe because I'm frugal enough, which is another point I'm going to get into, I actually have some free money that I could already put into investing, and thus starting that entire game plan that maybe getting to $1,000,000 might not be entirely impossible. It's just a question of how long it's going to take for me to get there. So circling back to the concept of frugality, I think a lot of it was because I grew up in both Asia and also here in the West. So when I was younger, I grew up in Hong Kong. I spent a couple of years there, and I remember that city was one of those kind of places where you just felt like you were surrounded by money 24/7. A lot of our family friends actually had a lot of money, but it's money seemed to be such a different concept in Asia compared to the US to a degree that for a lot of Asians that we find money to simply be the thing that buy ourselves freedom. It's just a resource. Whereas here in the US, you kind of have a lot more ostentatious type of spending just to show off or keeping up with Joneses. And just growing up without that pressure already gave me that sense that, I just viewed money as a tool, and I didn't need to make more money to, buy the next nicer car or the bigger house. It just gave me more room to do whatever I wanted to do. And maybe because I am a bit of a rebel, that's exactly what I wanted in life. So I live in the Midwest, and I think that's also another rebellious kind of a choice. As I had family and friends telling me that, hey, maybe I should start building my life out in California or maybe even Texas, a place where it would be a bit more international or whatever. And I just never quite got that concept of I didn't need to surround myself with the familiar to build my life. I had the idea that looking at the Midwest where I'm currently living at, it was a simple kind of a place. It was cheap. It was, I could find a career that it would not need to be extremely competitive to actually make a decent living. So I thought that maybe by sacrificing that lifestyle of having a really interesting kind of a place to be, I'd rather have that sense of financial freedom, that I didn't have to worry about making my rent, because when I first moved here, it was literally $500 for a one-bedroom apartment. It was nothing, and that would compare to spending thousands of dollars even back then. After college in 2010, it would have been numbers that I would have to worry about making rent month to month. And being here in the Midwest and being Asian, especially at the time when I first moved here, it already made me stand out. So I didn't necessarily felt like I needed to buy any bling or whatever. It literally, keeping up with the Joneses was simply not a concept that I had in mind, simply because I already stood out. I built my career in the construction industry. Not too many Asians at that point was working in construction, so I already had my way of differentiating myself to my peers. So I managed to find and build who I was without actually needing to spend all that money. So it's good fortune. I would absolutely say that that I actually landed in this position where I didn't need to spend a whole lot of money to impress anyone. I built a relatively solid career in a place with a relatively low cost of living. So that means any money that I actually would make, it's just extra at that point. It's just fun money. And that kind of gave me the idea that maybe I can turn this fun money into something else. Maybe that could be that ticket to freedom, that sense of financial freedom, that maybe I could either retire early or, do whatever I want in the foreseeable future. It doesn't seem that big of a challenge for me. So, and that's probably how I'm going to be able to stack a lot of my initial investment just by simply being normal, really. And I get that not all of you guys would have anywhere close to the kind of setup that I have right now. So I think a big part of it is just really take inventory of your life. Just see where you guys are at right now. I mean, if you're struggling with credit card debt, or, you still paying high interest debts, like, any student loans at 8 or 10%, or credit cards 27%, whatever, you probably won't be getting too much value from me talking about my investments. But I think it's probably a good idea to start taking inventory as to what costs you the most every single month. Just have a sit down and actually figure out how are you paying the bank half your paycheck for interest costs or whatever. I mean, just having that concept alone of knowing where you stand, maybe investing isn't exactly going to be the thing that you should be focusing on. Maybe it should be reducing your debts so that you keep more of your earnings. Or, maybe you're another super saver kind of like me, maybe that there would be ways to be more efficient with how you invest, whether it's then tax strategies or whatever. I mean, everybody is going to have a very different situation. So obviously, I'm not going to be able to, make a statement for everybody. But I think that just having that core understanding of exactly where you stand and what you're doing and what you're about, really start asking yourself those kind of questions. And maybe then you can actually figure out whether this is going to be the right kind of a strategy for you. And I do think this is the one part of me growing up in the West where, I didn't have to be so stubborn and stay to that one single track of life that my parents had set out to me. They really were that kind of traditional of parents, and thank God I'm rebellious enough that I stopped listening after a while, and just wanted to figure everything out for myself. I won't be able to tell you exactly what you need to do, but I think it's important to ask yourself and just be honest and reflect on exactly what you're going to be doing to get to where you want to go. For me, it's $1 million. I want that sense of freedom. But maybe that strategy might be different, and I hope that there might be something that I can share and see if that might kind of change the way of thinking, so that maybe you can actually get that financial freedom ultimately. So what about you guys? What are you guys focusing on in your own investing journey? Are you guys already hardcore savers, or maybe you're just starting out and figuring out exactly what strategy that you guys are going to take on? Let me know in the comment section below. I am curious to see where all of us are at, and maybe that way it will give me ideas to, what you guys would like to hear about as I share my own investing journey with you guys. If you want to stay in touch with my progress, give me a follow and subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you guys along. And until next time, see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.